Hello and thank you for coming to check this out. Okay, so this is the latest After Effects reproduction using Apple Motion 5, or tried to reproduce it using Apple Motion 5. So you can see that the original is here. It's from motion designer Nerdsy over at the Envato Market. There's a link in the description for you to go and check that out. And up here is my attempt to reproduce the elements in Motion 5. For reproductions, it's not the most accurate one that I've done, but it was really worthwhile working out how to get this 3D disc going. And what we're going to do then is go and have a look at the project file. I'm going to do this in 3 parts, so this is like part 1. We'll have a look at the project file, and we're going to focus on this replicator. So we're going to dig right into the basic setup and what you can do with them. And like I posted before in the preview, there's a link to go and check out Simon Ubsdell's tutorial with replicators, which is pretty much what I've applied here. But we're going to go and look outside of that and look at lots of different things as well. And then we're going to do a guide for the emitter here, which actually has the scale popping on the particles. So we'll look at that, and I'm going to cover again how to do these bursts. You know, bursts are quite a common element, but to get a style like this, there are a few things you can do outside of the normal replicator presets as well. And okay, so let's head over to Motion and check out the project file. Okay, so here we are in the project file, and you can see there's lots happening in here. So I think, yeah, as I said before, this is going to be part 1, and in part 1 we're going to cover this replicator. In part 2 we're going to look at the emitter, and then I'm going to do one again with how I got these bursts to work. I just, with the replicator presets, couldn't get, I'm not saying you can't, but I couldn't find a way to match the style as close as possible with the presets. And so I'll show you what I used to set that up. Right, but having a look at the replicator, so this is like the main attraction of this, well, the star of the show is this replicator here. So it opens with it, and it's the same element the whole way through. So search box comes in right about here. The group itself, you see this link, so this link kicks in right here, and this is linked to the edge of the search box. Here's the search box, and you can see that we are animating with the width. So the width is expanding, and that's running on an overshoot as well. And so right at that frame is when the edge link kicks in. So the replicator is then animated to the edge of the search box and back again. And now the replicator is masking out the magnifying glass, and as it pops, it's masking in the Motion logo as well. And just overshoot running on the sequence text for the title and tagline there. Type on is there with the text. That's just type on in and then sequence text out. Okay, so what we want to do is look at how to do these 3D replicators, so let's get busy with that. Alright, I have a new project here to get started. just have a group and a circle shape in there. So I said before, there's a link in the description to check out Simon Ubsdell's Shattered Glass tutorial, and I'll put another link there for his hexagon tutorial with replicators. I'll throw in a link for the Let's Motion channel replicator tutorial, and of course Ripple training. So the topic here is replicators. I animate professionally with motion, that's my job, but I'm still always feel over my head when it comes to replicators. I'm still learning about them. So I don't ever want to just take someone else's tutorial or content and present it as my own stuff. I just want to share things that I find that are unique or hard to come across, and that's just what I want to do here. So let's start with the basic replicator. Oh, and the other issue, of course, the big elephant in the room, is 3D. So of course, yeah, we can do 3D with 3D text as well, but I think the point of this is to show you that there's some things you can do with a replicator that were just not possible with doing it with 3D textiles instead. Okay, so making the replicator. So we just have a basic shape here. Okay, I'm going to use the hotkey L to replicate that, and then we want to set the replicator to 3D, make sure the group is 3D, choose box. That will only become available when it's checked for 3D. And we want one for columns, one for rows, and we'll leave ranks at 5. See the size there? So if we turn it around, I'm using the 3D transform tool there. If we turn it around, you see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ranks, and that's the size. So we want to crank up the ranks to 100 and squeeze that size down. Let's go for 35. Okay, so from here we want to change the colors to show off the 3D nature. So we're going to come to color mode and choose over pattern. You always want to make sure that your source is white, so that when you colorize you get accurate colors. If your source is a different color, you're going to get color offsets. So let's open it up. We want to take this stopper and give the same color to this one. We want to make sure that this one here is set to constant and that this one is set to constant as well. And with this back one here, I'm just going to come to the brightness and lower the brightness. So then I need to grab this stopper and pull it in. Okay, it's at that angle it's a bit hard to see what's happening. Oh no, I need to change the origin from center to back. Okay, there you go. Now it's kicking in. So, and that places a bright color at the front cap and dark everywhere else. And that's pretty much the element that I used for that latest reproduction. So from here we want to do a few more things. Okay, so first of all, let's put, so for now we've just got the two-tone, a bright color and a dark color, but if we want to make it more disc-like with the front and end caps, then what we can do is, I'm going to add another stopper in here, and that's going to be constant. If it's not, make sure it is. But if these are both constant and you add a stopper, the next one will be constant by default. Okay, I'm going to pass this color over to this one. And you can see now we've got two tones, and so you want to use this stopper here to push the end cap back, and this stopper here. So you can adjust these stoppers to determine how far the color comes down from front and back. But if we just set this one up here and this one up here, now we have more of a disk object going on. Okay, so for animating these, you wouldn't really want to throw sequence. I played around with it. You can throw sequence replicator onto this. It just creates a bit of a mess actually. But everything's up for grabs, so you can animate the rotation, the scale. You can pop it as you saw in the logo reproduction. It can scale, rotate, flip, move. It can be linked. I wouldn't use Align 2 in your project. Depends on how powerful your system is. Align 2 plus a 3D replicator even brings my 2019 Core i9, brings the frame rates down. Anyway, you can animate plenty of ways. But the cool thing is, once you've got it set up, take the replicator that you've made, add it to your library, to your favorites, and then bring it into any project where you want to use it. So, you know, you can just grab any shape now you want and throw it in there, and you are good to go. So the other thing to mention is that you can animate the replicator. Don't forget, you can animate the group that the replicator is in also, whatever's available to you there. But you've got the source here to animate as well, and that is where things get interesting. So let's look at a couple of other things we can do as well. Okay, so just before we swapped out the source for the square, so this rectangle is now the source for the replicator. So let's come to the shape and get rid of the fill. And so now we have a 3D frame. And if we animate the source, of course, the replicator will be animated as well. So we can grab the offset and just animate that. So now we have a 3D Bezier path drawing in, well, 3D path drawing in. So from here, I've been playing around with this, trying out all sorts of things. Yes, you can draw in a 3D path text with this. If you draw it out, you can interlock things. You can do lots of cool, you can make a chain with this because it's all in 3D space. So, but let's just want to pass on to you the ideas without going into every possible thing you can do. So just from here, let's say we grab this, grab the Bezier tool, and let's draw out any old path, and going to get rid of the fill. Okay, so let's drop that in now as the source, and let's animate that too. So there we go. Got 3D paths drawing in, and you can do lots of cool stuff with this. Alright, so that's that. Let's look at something else. Alright, let's try something else now. So I'm going to grab this rectangle and clear that animation and turn off the outline, turn the fill back on, and I'm going to put that in as the source for the replicator again. Can get rid of the Bezier there. Alright, this time let's grab the circle, turn the circle back on and move it over. I'll turn off that source. For the circle, let's add an outline, remove the fill. I'll come to geometry and drop that down to something smaller. Come to style and let's make that thicker. And I'm just going to animate the offset again to draw it on. Just something basic. Okay, that'll do. Right, so this time I'm going to grab the replicator. I'll call this mid, the cell, and I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to drag the circle in to the copy, and I can call that one front. Now you won't see it because it's colored the same way, so we want to drop that back to the original. So now we have 3D replicator with an animated part to it as well, which is really cool. So it has some limitations though. If you rotate, if you are animating with rotation, which is something you want to do with 3D objects, you're going to get this see-through part right about here. So you can crank up the ramps on it, but that's not going to cover it up that much, and it's more demanding on your system. So what I recommend you do is, if it's flipping fast enough, then right about where it becomes visible, you can grab the source and just keyframe the opacity off and back on again over whatever frames it's visible. Yeah, and that'll do the trick for you. Okay, so that's one way to go about that. With this one, you can see that it should show through front and back. If you see the glitching there, don't worry. It's not going to transfer through. It's not going to appear in the rendering. But okay, so in this instance, it's not appearing at the back. So I think then in that case, we're just going to grab the front and drop one down there. So now we get it on both sides. So that's how you get it working front and back. And the cool thing with this one is that if you do it this way, you can come to, am I thinking of the right method? I might be thinking of the other one. If I come to angle now and flip this Y180, yeah, okay, so you can reverse it. So the front animation can be going one direction and the back animation can be going in the opposite direction. Okay, so let's look at another way now. Okay, so from here, let's do it another way. I'll get rid of front and get rid of that one. And this time, I'll just set the rotation back to normal. Okay, so this time, let's grab the replicator and duplicate it. And with the duplicate, we'll drag in the circle as the source for this one. Right, so this time again, I'll just turn off the source. You won't see it because it's the same color, so drop the color back to original. So now we have an animated element within the replicator, and we want to work with the group now for rotation. So if you're going to animate, same thing applies, except for this time when you get to the visible part, you can just keyframe the replicator opacity or the source opacity. So to see it on both sides now, you come to this replicator and come to the size and increase that by 1, and now that will show through. Okay, so from here, if we keep going with size, you see lots of things become possible when we see that we can do this, and I've been playing around with this a lot. I'm trying out lots of different things. It's really interesting. Right, so for making 3D stuff in motion, of course, we've got replicators, we've got 3D text. That's a whole other topic. That's something I got a chance to actually use professionally with work, and the results with 3D text, custom fonts and 3D text were just really, really amazing, but I'm hardly an expert on that. just dabbled in it a bit. So I'll put a link in here for the website of Fox Mahoney if you want to get schooled on custom fonts in 3D. That's the best resource that I know of. Okay, so carrying on with the replicators, we've tried out a few things. Let's go a step further. Right, let's get rid of this replicator, come back to this one. I'll just set the group back to rotation. I actually just went ahead and had to remind myself of how to do this next thing. I keep forgetting, but I think I got it sorted now. So we're going to grab this replicator and we're going to duplicate this replicator, and I'm going to rename this original one as source, and now we're going to drag in this replicator to be the source of the duplicate and turn it off. Alright, come to this replicator, let's change things around. So we'll change in this case to circle and set to outline. Let's come and drop the scale down to 70, and right, so now we want to flip this down in 3D space, something like that, and we can come here now to the cell angle and set this to 90 and set the Y to 90. And check align angle. Right, so now we have got kind of the carousel formation starting to take shape. So from here we can rotate this replicator. We can animate it that way. We can come to the offset and animate the offset. So you see with the offset you get smoother rotation there than going and animating the replicator itself. I'm still always feeling over my head when it comes to 3D space and 3D stuff in general. I have ripple trainings, warp speed in motion with 3D, which is always helpful to turn back to figure stuff out. I really recommend it. Alright, so there's another example of things we can do with the replicators in the 3D space. So let's add just a rate behavior to this, and I think now my iMac is going to start cranking up the fan. Okay, so there you go. So, maybe that's helpful for your projects, gives you some ideas for trying out things. As you see, for the logo reproduction, for those flat graphics and that kind of logo sting, the replicator was ideal for doing that. And I'm just going to bring in a demo of something I did before just to really show how far you can take it. So I'll drop that in now. Okay, so here is something that I've done just playing around with replicators to see what's possible. So this is just using all the things and all the steps that we've just covered. I can see use for this for work, for products that I work on, that I'm lucky enough to work on through work. Straight up, some issues. You've seen that when you merge replicators, you get the see-through part. It's really system intensive. Like the tester who was testing one of the products we use this in, said pretty much this can bring my system to its knees before a RAM preview. So those kinds of things have to be taken into account. But yeah, so that is that for now. I hope that was useful for you and interesting. And for the next part, we're going to have a look at from that logo reproduction, we're going to have a look at the emitter. So I'll get that ready for you as soon as possible. Thanks for checking it out, and thanks for watching.